Hello. Let me see something real quick. Cancel. Okay. Someone tried to show me a trick on where I could see comments because that hasn't been working. I'm not sure if it's working. So if you are here, say hi. I tried to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but it doesn't look like it's working. So I'm getting tons of messages, but that's fine. Just say, oh, hey, okay, yay, I see comments, so it must have worked. Awesome. Hi, team Love It. How is everyone? Super, super honored and humbled to be asked to be here. So excited. So I'll just tell you real quick who I am to you all. I am Brittany Mutke, so I am your upline. I run the dream team with Michelle, so I'm trying to think how it works, like as far as like executives. I know it's like me, Michelle, Rachel, Marissa, Ashley, and then you guys. I want to say if that's right, but I might be wrong, but that's just how I think it is. So you guys obviously have tons of amazing leaders that you have access to, I feel. And then super annoying with calling me right now, and I literally put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I'm going to try not to get distracted. So I am here to tell my story about tie in perseverance. So obviously I don't have any notes because it's literally my life story and that would be kind of weird. But I want to say, like, I am the Ruby National Executive. I've been with Keller Street for 4 years. Heather put all of some of the achievements that I have had. A lot of that's because the team is amazing. And I think why it feels weird for me to say that, I also like to say that that's just kind of where I'm at now. And so we're going to go over like what it took to get there, because I don't even know if I'm ready to tell my story today. I've didn't sleep well, but it's going to be real. Okay. So I will say that the biggest achievement that I feel like has touched me the most has been, I was the True Color Award recipient for 2020. Why that means so much to me is because that's something that you were given for who you are, right? Other people saw something in you, and the corporate and all of that. And when you hear my story, you're gonna be and that's, it was amazing. Nothing that I've ever, have experienced before, right? So people seeing me and being like, oh my gosh, that's a role model. So that's probably been my biggest achievement that still blows me away to date, because just someone's seeing something, outside of, it's nothing about what I'm doing, but it's about who I am being, and trying to be every day. So I'm going to take you guys way back, tell you a little bit of what it was like, for me, before BC, before Keller Street, kind of what happened, which made me join Keller Street and stuff like that. And then a little bit of what it's been like today. And and I put up there the definition of perseverance, which is getting through things despite obstacles. And if I had a theme of my life, I literally feel I'm one of those people that if I would have failed, no one would have been surprised. That's kind of what would have been expected. And so that's where it comes from. So I grew up, a pretty middle class family. My parents, were both military. They obviously did the best they can, loved us to death, but they had to travel a lot, which, they weren't home. We moved a lot because of it. And there, with having different babysitters and stuff, there was a lot of, there was some trauma. I'm not going to be specific because I don't want to trigger anyone, but that was kind of a big piece of, in my childhood, preteens, some events that happened that kind of led to my teenage years, and, mental illness, anxiety, depression. I had and then I started to dabble in drugs before I even, I was like 16. I did not graduate from high school. So I dropped out of high school because it just got bad. Starting like around 16, it started off with more mental illness, like depression, self-harm, suicide attempts. So I'd start out like, say like, my parents having to like institutionalize me, but then like drugs started to play more of a major role when I got to like that, like 17, 18 year point, in my early or late teens, early 20s, when most people that I know were like joining the army, going to college, doing all of that, I was not. I, got heavily into hard drugs, and I'm not saying like, like partying and sniffing a little coke there, even though that does make you an addict. I was an IV heroin user and crack cocaine, which led me to being homeless. Those people that you see flying signs, begging for money, stealing, being in jail. So when a lot of people were doing that, I, spent my early 20s either in and out of rehab, in and out of jail, several attempts to try to get clean. It wasn't happening for me. I tried a lot of things, up until that point, like methadone. I had, I was on the methadone clinic for a while. My mom would say that she had my funeral planned out, like that she was just ready for the call. My parents really practiced tough love eventually. So I wasn't welcome home. My mom would I remember her meeting me to bring me food sometimes behind my dad's back. It caused a lot of, issues in their relationship. And my mom will also say that she, would feel the most relief when I would call her, when she'd get that collect call from the county jail, just at least knowing where I was that night and that I was safe. And that was actually how my life was for a while. I would, I could get clean maybe for a little bit, but then it would, after maybe a few months here, it was just back to the same thing. I had this pattern of just letting myself down, breaking promises to myself, and letting everyone down too. What I say is, and what I've learned, and it's not just with drug addiction, but it's in life, is that we all reach a bottom somewhere that we finally, when the pain of staying the same, is more than what it would take to change, that's when we finally make it. And you'll see that, through my life. And I'm going to tell you, in this meantime, in my early 20s, as who you see before, I did pick up several felony charges. Grand theft, forgery, possessions of narcotics, and I was actually facing 7 years in prison, the Ohio Reformatory for Women. It's so hard to love an addict. I've been on that side too. It is. So I just read that comment. It is so hard, and I know that. Definitely powerlessness. So I was facing 7 years in prison because I was young and I had my family, wanting me to get clean. I think I was 22, 23. I was actually given the chance to hey, Brittany, you're going to be on probation, stay clean, finish this program, and all these felony charges will go away. So for people that don't understand addiction, that sounds like a good deal. Brittany, just stay clean, right? Stay clean, and then all of this will go away and then you can live your life. Well, I was not done, and I couldn't stay clean even with the thought of prison over my head, even with the thought that I could have these felonies on my record for the rest of my life. I literally I did not have the ability to stay clean because I wasn't ready. I wasn't at that point that I spoke of earlier. And and my probation, she wanted me to. She tried so hard. She would I would drop dirty. She let me try different things. That's when I was on the methadone clinic. She even let me do that. I just could not stop. I couldn't stop. And against my own will and wishes, I just wouldn't stop. And, she, there was just one point where she was like, you dropped dirty one more time and we're going to have to revoke your probation. And and they were going to put that sentence in, the 7 years. And I was like 24 years old at this point. So imagine what normal people are doing when they're 24 and what I was doing when I was 24. So time comes. For this point, like the type of probation I was on, you had to call a number. Like it was like every day. And if they said your color, because it was random, you had to come in and drop. Give them a urine screen. My color was blue. And I remember going into the bathroom stall, calling, and it was my number, and I was like, ugh, I am going to be dirty, and I am going to go to prison, you know? I've been to jail a few times. I've never been to prison, and 7 years was scary. That means I would have went in there and not come out until I was in my 30s. So instead of even going and giving them a dirty urine, I had the bright idea to just not go and kind of like what they call absconding. Like I was just going to go off the record, like technically like on the run, because that was like my brilliant idea at that time. Of course, she had started calling my cell phone. I just wouldn't answer. It was insane. Like when I tell you this, like you guys are like, when I tell my story now, I'm like, who is that person? But this was really like my life. Like it's crazy to me. So in Franklin County, Ohio, all felony warrants, they actually use the U.S. Marshals to get people. And at that point, because I, absconded, I was considered a fugitive. So now they start like looking at any known places, work, last known address, parent houses for you. And I was at this house, well, an apartment, like literally it was like a crack house, horrible, with my boyfriend at the time. And that morning, I've never forget that feeling of that morning, because at that point I felt so hopeless and broken, and I knew what was going to happen, and I didn't want to keep hurting the people in my life. And so I actually had like a $200 check coming from where I was working at the time. And I just had made this decision that morning that I was going to stop like hurting myself and hurting people. And I was, trigger warning, that I was going to end my life. We had those old cell phones at the time. I drafted texts to send to my family, my dad and my mom, just telling them how sorry I was. I felt done. And there's bang at the door and we don't answer. Right? And then it goes away. And I'm like, okay, let me go. I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this amount of dope so I can just, kill myself. And I started I was mid putting up my pants, and they kicked down the door, got me. And, August 3rd, 2009, that was, my day that I had some type of divine intervention, but I also had an awakening that it was rough. It was my, a second chance. I ended up going to jail, facing a revocation hearing to face the 7 years in prison because they wanted to revoke my probation. I went through probably the most severe withdrawal, cold turkey on the bottom floor, where I literally was just like, I didn't know if I was going to make it through. And I did. And I had court dates, and, they just wanted to say we've given her so many chances. And I ended up sitting in jail for about 4 months at that time. But I had made a decision that no matter what happened, whether I went to prison or they gave me another chance, that I just did not ever want to use again. So whatever that looked like I had surrendered and accepted that I was just going to do, whatever, that I was just done living, that way. So that, because I felt like I maybe got I was second chance. So when most people or really depressed in jail, like I felt like I was finally clean for the first time in forever. And I remember like every day, like waking up, like I would do like a meditation and like, you know, a gratitude list. And I just didn't care because like I felt more free in jail facing prison than I had felt for such a long time. And it's crazy to even think about that, because now if you tell me going to jail, I'm like, that sounds horrible. But I just remember that feeling, like eating and sleeping and not having to, like, you know, talking to my mom every day. You know, she came to visit me and it was just so different. So fast forward for a little bit, you know, 4 months, finally they're doing like all this, like what to do with me. And the judge actually decides to, okay, so they took me off that treatment in lieu. I became a convicted felon at that point, but he didn't want to send me to prison. He wanted to give me another chance, so he put me again on intensive adult probation. I was now a convicted felon, and they wanted me to go to a halfway house, complete a program, and then I had like community service hours. I just, you know, whatever, you know, happens, like, because I said that treatment in lieu was done, but he just was like, Brittany, like, my hopes for you is that, like, you stay clean, you do this, you know. And I was writing him letters, like, do whatever, like, I'm done, you know. And they read those letters, you know. And so I did get that chance to finally, like, I got home on an ankle bracelet to my mom's house while they basically waited. There's like 2 programs in Columbus, and whichever one got a bed first, that's where I went to. And so I went to the Alvis house. Okay, so now I'm clean, you know, back then, and it was just like a crazy whirlwind. Like, I stayed at that program, I graduated, I did everything I could, and then I got pregnant when I was like 6 months clean. Got pregnant with my first child to the first guy that looked at me, because now I'm clean and I do not know what I'm doing with my life, but it's fine, right? At least I'm not using. And like, I, you know, lived with my mom when I first had her, and then like I ended up working at Red Lobster. I worked at Red Lobster for like 10 years. I ended up actually getting pregnant by that guy again. And then when I got pregnant a third time, and I'm going to say I did not make healthy decisions, because like, I just didn't, like, you know, whatever. I'm not going to ever claim to be perfect. When I got pregnant a third time, I was like, I probably should marry him. And so we did go to the courthouse, and it was a very not healthy relationship, like, on so many levels. But like, I also want to say, it's so weird sharing my story because I feel like I have so more facets of it. But when I got clean, I had other addictions come out. One was food. I instantly gained like I gained almost 80 pounds in that 4 months. Started eating as much as I could. And so I had like a lot of unhealthy, like, I just did not think that like because like now the drugs are gone, so then I switched with the food addiction. I always want to add that because that's kind of a big part of me too, like figuring out like how to do things. So first I want to say, you're like, Brittany, what does this have to do with Color Street? That was my first example of perseverance. So if you're going through like a hard time in your business now, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as what I just shared, but like we all have something that we got through that we did not know like how to get through it, but we did. And so I always use that like on these hard days, like when I'm like, oh my gosh, like it feels like my team's crumbling, this leg, like like, Brittany, you have gone through way harder things. This is fun nail polish. So I want to throw that in there because you're like, what is this girl? Feels like I'm like in church or AA meeting or something, right? So like, no, let me just say, like it all connects. So that's why I think people ask me to share my story, because like they know that it all connects in that way. So I finally, like I said, get clean. I'm married. I'm in, you know, I think my highest weight was like 350 pounds. And I'm literally like, there are 6 of us, well, no, 3, and I'm pregnant, living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I used to have these 7 felony convictions. It's like, it's a struggle, you guys, a financial struggle. And finally, like, and I felt hopeless so many times, like financially, but I'm like, it's not as bad as it was. Like, at least I'm clean. That's what I kept saying. Like, I always have that, like, okay, Brittany, you're not there anymore. So I would say like it was end of 2016, right before 2017, I'm like 7 months pregnant, 3 kids, and Red Lobster that I've been working at for 10 years. They know I'm a felon, but they, I always took pride in whatever I did. I was a good worker, good hustler, whatever. So my general manager there says, hey, I know you're a felon, but I talked to the district manager and like, we're going to try to get you approved to be like an actual manager of the store. And I was like, what? And he's like, I totally think you'd be great. Like, I trust you. Like, they let me count cash all the time there. And those were things that like, when you get clean, like, I remember like the first time my parents let me at the house alone, you're like, oh my God, like this never would have happened. So when people start to trust you, so like now, like when I get someone's trust, it is a huge deal because like, I remember what it was like when no one trusted me. And, so like he had me do like all this training to become like a manager, like pass like the serve safe test. And I was so excited. I'm like, y'all, like I'm going to be making $40,000 a year. Like I was like, that is so cool for someone like me, a high school dropout, 7 felonies, I'm going to have insurance. I'm going to be able to get off Medicaid because of the job. I'm going to have paid vacations. And the biggest thing was, and nothing towards like anyone that works in the service industry because everyone has their own, but this was just for me. Like I wanted to, my daughter was the firstborn. So at this point she's like 7. I wanted to be a good example for her, and I think I always have been, but I wanted, in my mind, I'm always like, you can do more as a mom. You get that. If you're a mom or a parent, you get that. And so like, that's just what I wanted to do. So I thought that was going to be amazing. Like it was a dream, like $40,000 a year. What? Like, that's crazy. So, I was going through all this stuff. I was so excited. They let me do all this training. I got to wear regular clothes, like dress up to do work. And then, God, this is like one of those, we always have these moments in our life that we can look back to. I said before about that morning. So this was like that morning, when I wanted to overdose. I got a call from Red Lobster corporate from Orlando, and I even remember her name. Like, I remember where I was, how everything, the weather that day, because it was like one of those life moments, and she was just like, hey, Brittany, legal looked over your application, your resume, everything. Like, we think you're doing a really good job, but we're not going to be able to move forward with you being a manager just because of your record. And at that point, my stuff was like 2007. I was like 9 years old. My felonies were like 9 years old at that point. God, I felt so bad that day. Again, I felt almost like as hopeless that morning as I did that when I was using, because like you start to think like, why did I even get clean? Like, why did I go through all of this? Like, it's just not fair. Like, those are the things you start telling yourself. So again, another example of perseverance. Like, I had a choice right then. I had a choice. And it was to either like reserve and just keep doing, the same old, or I could have I could have just been like, that's okay. This is just where I'm going to be. Or like, what decision could I make? And I was just like, no. So what was crazy, I was like, I'm going to find out something, because here's the other thing, guys. I wanted to get out of this marriage. It was horrible at this point. I'm going to say infidelity, psychological abuse, only thing, like, I literally feel like the only thing, like, was the kids. And that's probably why I kept having them, because they made me feel so good, which is probably a very sick, codependent thing to admit. And obviously I am in therapy going through that, but like my kids, like, they gave me something to, just some type of joy. And, you guys are probably like, this girl is crazy. But anyways, so I get invited to a party for another company right after this happens. I have no idea about direct sales, you guys. I have no idea that you have to sign up under someone, how this works. It just looks like she's having fun. And she told me, like, I could be a business owner. And, like, at the time, I'm going to say, like, it was LuLaRoe, right? That you $5,000 startup. Where do you think this woman living in poverty at this point now, my 4th child is born. So I have like a newborn, I had 3 under 3, and then Rhea, and I'm staying at home, obviously some maternity leave, and it's $5,000. But I wanted to make it happen. Like, because in my mind, I was just like, this way I can stay home, because and like make like actual money, because I was like watching these videos. I had no idea, like I didn't know that like it was like multi-level marketing. I just thought that this is what you had to do to start your own boutique in your house. So that's all I knew. And so like I had tax return that I got some of the money for. My dad gave me some. I even asked my grandma. Y'all, I was asking anybody like who can give me a loan. I was just like, I will pay this back, please. Like I sent him all those videos. This is what I want to do. So my dad gave me money. My Oma gave me money, and then the rest was from my tax return. And I signed up to be a LuLaRoe consultant with no idea, no experience, and like I did not have that money. There's so many things I could have used that money for. So I started off, like I watched all the videos, I did all the things, set it up this little part of my little basement, and that was in July. But you guys, guess what? In July is also when I found Color Street. So like that was like July 8th when I got all of these clothes, and then I hear of Color Street in a Facebook group, okay? In a Facebook group, people are talking about products they love. My now sponsor, Katie Harbison, if you don't know her, she is your upline #1 team, because she has amazing rock stars underneath her. Obviously, and not to brag, but like she said, I'm surprised no one's mentioned Color Street. And at this point, it was probably like a month after Color Street launched. And I was just like, what is that? Like, and so she messaged me and she started telling me about it. And she's like, she could send me a sample. And I was just like, I'm just going to order like a strip. And she's like, you know, this business will be good. And I'm like, no, like, I just like the idea, because like I, wasn't taking care of myself physically. I had no money. I was starting to work at this like boutique. And I just like the idea of being able to have like pretty nails, because I was obviously never going to be able to go to the salon. So that's all I was like, girl, no, like I just put all this money towards this. Like, this is what has to be my focus right now. Go away with that business talk, please. And then like, so I got the set and I put it on, and then I saw how easy it was like to put on, and then I took it off and I was like, oh my God. And like, I had mentioned it to my husband at the time, and he was like, no, absolutely not. Like, you do not, about maybe doing the business. So like I had to call my mom. Hey mom, like I'm gonna work to sell like some, like I think it was like 3 pieces of clothing, and then I'll be able to pay you back. But can you like Venmo me $150? So I just really want to try this business. I just want to get the kit, because I think I could use it, and like it'll be really cute, like, and I could probably do it together with the clothes. I said, I promise you I'll have 3 pieces of clothing back, so I can, pay you back, for that. And then so she sent me the money, and I had to hide it from my husband at the time. It wasn't until like weeks later where like I had him blocked on any Color Street posts, had everything, like he didn't really pay much attention to stuff. So like, but one day he picked up my phone and was going through my phone and saw about it. And so like, but whatever, if that's neither here nor there, because at the end of the day, you guys, I was able to divorce him. And we do co-parent with the kids, but that's also, sorry, I meant to like left that out. But that's also like a part of my story, because that's a part of my why that I didn't share. And like those whys, like literally, man, will keep us going. Like I wanted to be able to get a divorce, afford an attorney, and be able to like keep my children full time and be able to give them like a life, and I couldn't do that. I would probably go to the Y, try to take them. He would make more money. He'd be able to, and so like I just didn't want to deal with that. So like I didn't share that a lot in the beginning, but that was like a huge reason why I like needed this to work. So did it work at first? No. Like you guys, again, like I had no experience with this, right? Like with these sales, all I knew was like I was gonna watch videos and I am just gonna try. And like I remember when oh my God, I had so many like zero parties. Like I saw all these people signing up for Color Street and they were like getting all these promotions and they were like crushing it. And I like literally, I was BQing. I hit because I did have like a few loyal customers, like my mom and like, but I kept like tweaking things. Sorry to spit. I kept like tweaking things and figuring things out and reaching to more people because I was determined. Like I remember like I would, cause I was still doing LuLaRoe for a little while, but I'd still like pack up my Color Street samples and like I would, and no one was doing yes, exactly. If I would have quit, oh my God. What if I would have quit? That's what I think about all the time. No one was doing Color Street at events, like, and so, because it would be like a multi-LuLaRoe vendor event. So I would walk up and I remember like my exact words, like passing this sample to this girl. And I'm like, listen, this is the future. Do you see all those people like earning like trips? Because LuLaRoe had like cruises and stuff because of their business. I'm going to be that person. Like I said that, like I owned it even though I was not doing much, but I just like was telling everybody, I was showing I was excitement and I just was not giving up because I had all these examples of harder times in my life, which is perseverance. And like all this example of like what happens like if you don't give up, Brittany, like what happens? And like, so I didn't sign up my first person until I was like 5 months in. And that's like kind of like where, and it went from there. Senior stylist, team leader, I got in the presidential circle and I wasn't like a crazy recruiter my first like year and a half. So I signed up to July 2017. I was recognized in 2020 as a company top recruiter. It wasn't until mid 2019 that I figured out what I needed to do. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, what if I would have given, like, to be a super review, every few months, whatever. I had definitely so many months where I didn't recruit anyone, which is fine and normal. But like when I had to figure out like how to do follow-ups to make it work and be super consistent. I wasn't consistent. I share about slow times in this business. May 2019, I slipped back rank. It was a huge pay cut for me. In that moment, again, I had a choice. Like, I'm like, Brittany, do you keep slipping back? Do you say that, that this isn't da-da-da-da, or do you do something different? We have those times where we have those choices and I was just like, I'm gonna do something different, right? And so like I remember I like ordered new business cards, relaunched my business, like rebranded everything. I'm like, let's just go, like, because I have all these examples of like that if we just, it's hard in the moment, if we hang on and get through it, on the other side is where like big things can happen and nothing is permanent unless we like quit. And I couldn't imagine trying to start over somewhere else. I am so confident, guys, I know like Color Street has changed my life in so many ways. Like, I talked about being, severely, morbidly obese. And, I had so many doctors recommend weight loss surgery as a tool for me. In 2018, I was able to pay for cash, for Color Street, lost over 100 pounds. So I was able to play with my kids, be healthy. I was pre-diabetic, all that stuff. And, again, I have to follow like their suggestions, you know what I mean? Like I have to take people's suggestions, like for nutrition, I have to take people's suggestions that have done it before, like for Color Street. I have to take people's suggestions or people that have stayed clean before, you know what I mean? Like I have to listen to people that have done it before and just stick through when it's hard. And those are things like I use a lot of the tools that got me clean and keep me clean in this business and with my, my food addiction. Biggest thing was able to get that divorce, and I promise you I'm not being braggy, but like, getting us from 6 of us renting a 2-bedroom, where I slept with all of my kids in 1 bedroom and my ex slept in one. I became a first-time homeowner in December of this year, a 5,000 square foot house. My kids all have their own bedrooms. I'm in my own office. My office, you know, like what I've been able to do because I didn't give up, like literally blows me away. Like when I say every day when I pull up to this house, I do not believe that I should be here. Like this is my neighborhood. Big thing, last year I was able to afford an attorney and I got all of my felonies expunged. I now, like, if you search me up, you will never find a felony. No one will even know I'm a convicted felon unless I tell them. And that was a big thing for me because, Canada does not allow convicted felons into their country. And I was like, I need to figure out what to do to get into Canada. And I remember that was something I felt so hopeless about. Do you know how many times I have like been declined of my getting my stuff expunged? So many times. It's crazy. And oh my gosh, the last time was after Ohio changed the law to allow multiple felonies to be expunged and they told me no. Y'all, I actually went live that day and I still, when it comes up, I was in tears because I'm like, I was like, why? Because those felonies held me back in so many ways. Like, you know, not able to be a Girl Scout, thing for my daughter. Like at that point, like rentals were horrible. Obviously not being able to get and I wanted to just give up. And, you know, like I had to, my mom, like, I remember she's like, Brittany, you are not a quitter. Like you're going to find a way, like it's going to happen. And like, I just started calling, like I cried for a couple days. And then I just like, okay, again, we have those choices like that can impact the whole trajectory of where we go. And that day I had a choice and I chose the path that's probably less traveled. And, you know, that is what's going to separate, you know, the top 1% of this company and, you know, getting there, not giving up, taking, you know, path, doing hard things, getting through times where we feel like it's impossible. Because let me tell you, I never thought I was going to get clean. I shared this like in the beginning, like there's been times like in my recovery where I did not think I was going to stay clean, where I thought, where I remember crying in bed, praying that the obsession to use would get away because I was going to pick up. So like literally, I just know I have evidence that if I hold on, those thoughts will leave and then I can just take action and do the right thing, like ask for help, tell someone what's going on. Let's make a plan, you know, whether it's making a plan to do that or making a plan to work my business. There's been times in this business where I felt frustrated, where maybe I felt like picked on or things were stagnant or, you know, like what, you know, because there, you know, I'm not going to go into details, but there's times and I'm just like, okay, let me talk to a support person or, you know, my peer, and let's make a plan on what we're going to do. And some of it is just like, Brittany, you know, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know, look at what you've been through. And then just, it's literally sometimes we just need a wake up call. And so you guys, that is my story. I'm still here with you guys all the time. Still working, you know, the best is definitely yet to come. We're a baby company. I'm still young in life, you know, and like, I feel like being this part of this company has given me such a purpose. Color Street has given me such a voice. You know, I didn't even share about my addiction until I hit executive. And then they asked me to share my story on stage at 2018 conference. And I had never shared it, like that. Until like, so basically like my sponsor wrote in and nominated me. And then they were like, Color Street's like, we're not going to shame you for being an addict because you're clean. She's like, we're going to put you on stage so you can tell everyone your story, that, you know, there is, you know, a promise of freedom through addiction, but also like what part Color Street has played in that, you know, with the felonies and feeling hopeless and stuff. And at that time I was, you know, the charges weren't expunged. I had just had weight loss or, you know, and it was just like, it's crazy. Like this company, I'm telling you, it's offered like so much, like it's crazy. So, you know, I hope you guys, if you're having a rough day or, you know, rough time, that this has helped, because like what I can tell you that is if someone like me can make this work, anyone can make this work. If you stick to it, anyone, I believe that full, and it, you know, I can't tell you a time I can't tell you how long. I can't do that. But I literally know that if we do the things, because it's not just like hoping, it's about taking action and stay consistent. Like it will work, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be as big or dramatic as what happened for me. Whatever you want, like vacation, groceries, you know, you set the pace. I only wanted $500 extra, you know, so like I get it. All right, you guys, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks for being here with me. You guys, Heather is amazing. You guys are so lucky to have her, and I will chat with you soon. Bye.